In tonight's episode, we're heading into a forgotten corner of Bangkok, a place most tourists never see and locals speak of only in hushed tones. Hidden between overgrown trees and crumbling pavement is a small red shrine, easy to miss, impossible to forget. This is the story of Mae Thapthim, a ghost with a broken heart and a terrifying reputation. They say if you pass her shrine without showing respect, your car might not make it much farther. Some call it superstition. Others know better. Because if you've ever seen a woman in red standing alone on a rural road just before your headlights flicker out, you'll understand why people keep coming back to say sorry. This isn't just folklore. It's a curse that waits for silence. Let's dive in. Nicha had never believed in ghosts. She grew up in Bangkok, raised on science, logic, and late-night YouTube documentaries debunking the supernatural. So when she got the internship that required her to document lesser-known cultural landmarks across the city, she treated it like any other assignment. Historic temples, forgotten shrines, crumbling spirit houses, she'd seen dozens. But one name on the list gave her pause. It referred to the Shrine of Lady Thapthim, Nong Kham Cemetery, also known as the Nong Kham Cemetery Shrine. Her supervisor barely mentioned it, just said, "Some people avoid it. Don't provoke anything. Just get a few shots and move on." So, on a cloudy Monday afternoon, Nicha took the bus to Nong Kham. It was quiet out there. The city noise faded, replaced by cicadas and the low hum of power lines. She followed the GPS through a maze of back roads until the buildings thinned out and the trees began to close in. That's when she saw it. The shrine was smaller than she expected. Faded red paint, offerings of garlands, and incense crumbling from age. A cracked photo frame leaned against the base, showing the face of a young woman with dark eyes and a strange, knowing smile. Nicha set her bag down and raised her camera. That's when she noticed the smell, like stagnant water and old perfume. The air was heavy, thick. She told herself it was just the heat, just the setting. But something in her chest tightened as she pressed record. Behind her, the wind picked up, just enough to make the dead leaves shuffle like footsteps. The first thing she noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the off kind. Even with the wind, even with the trees creaking above her, it felt like something had pressed pause on the entire area. No dogs barking, no cars passing, not even birds. She checked the time. 4:27 p.m. The sun was still out, but the shadows had started to stretch. Nicha crouched to get a better angle of the incense bowl, adjusting her lens when she saw something strange in the corner of the frame, a red blur, like cloth, drifting between the trees. She looked up. Nothing. Just trees, shrubs, empty road behind her. She blinked, adjusted the focus again. The blur was gone. Nicha stood up slowly, brushing the dirt off her knees. That's when her phone buzzed. It was a text from her friend Pim. "Hey, where are you? Be careful if you're out there. My aunt said don't mess with that place." Nicha laughed quietly and typed back, "I'm not messing with anything, just filming." She pocketed her phone and turned back to the shrine. The photo frame had fallen over. She hadn't touched it. There was no wind strong enough to knock it down. The incense sticks, which had burned out earlier, now released a thin line of smoke from one that had reignited. Her hand hovered near the offering tray. A garland of marigolds had turned brown, not wilted, rotted, as if it had been there for weeks instead of hours. She felt a sudden pressure in her ears, like she'd climbed too fast in an airplane. Then, faint and distant, she heard it. A soft, hiccuping breath. Like someone trying not to cry. Nicha backed away from the shrine, her breath catching in her throat. The sound had stopped the moment she moved, but the pressure in the air stayed, like the atmosphere itself was watching. She told herself to finish the shoot. Just get it done. 10 more minutes, then leave. But when she raised her camera again, the lens fogged over instantly. She wiped it, tried again. Same thing. Annoyed, she dug in her bag for a lens cloth and paused. The bag felt lighter. She glanced inside. Her notebook was missing. So was the small offering she'd brought just a symbolic garland from 7-Eleven? She turned in a slow circle, scanning the ground. The garland was now hanging neatly on the shrine, right in front of the photo. She knew she hadn't placed it there. A low hum passed through her chest, like standing near a running generator. She grabbed her stuff and started walking back toward the road. That's when she saw the man, middle-aged, greasy white shirt, standing just beyond the trees near the entrance path, staring straight at her. At first, she thought he was a caretaker. Maybe he lived nearby? But as she approached and raised a hand to wave, he turned his back and walked into the brush. No path, just vines and overgrowth. Still, she followed. Just a few steps into the trees, she found it. A notebook, soaking wet, though the ground around it was dry. The pages had warped, ink bleeding through. But one page, near the front, had somehow been left perfectly clear. It wasn't her handwriting. In red ink, it read, "You saw me." She snapped the book shut and ran. Back on the road, she flagged down a motorbike taxi and asked to be taken to the nearest BTS station. The driver glanced at her bag, then at her face. "You went to the shrine?" he asked in Thai. Nicha hesitated. "Yeah, just for filming." He didn't start the bike right away. Instead, he reached into a small pouch on the handlebar and pulled out a bundle of incense sticks. He handed them to her. "Say sorry," he muttered, "just in case." She gave a half smile, thinking he was joking. "I'm serious," he added, eyes hard now. "Say it now, out loud." Feeling foolish, Nicha turned back toward the trees and whispered, "Sorry." The driver nodded once, started the engine, and sped off like he couldn't wait to get away. As the city lights slowly came back into view, she dared a glance at her reflection in the bike's side mirror. For a second, just one, she swore someone else's face was looking back, pale, wet, and wearing red. That night, Nicha couldn't sleep. She kept the lights on, played music, even FaceTimed Pim until her battery ran low, but none of it helped. Her ears still rang, her chest still felt heavy. And that mirror image, that face, it kept flashing in her head like a bad after image. Around 3:15 a.m., she finally dozed off and woke up 5 minutes later to the smell of jasmine. It was faint, but unmistakable. Sweet, floral, and rotting at the edges. She sat up. The room was cold, unnaturally cold. Her window was shut, her fan was off. Then came the knock. Not on her front door, on her bedroom wall. 3 soft taps like someone was trying not to wake the neighbors. She froze. Then it came again. 3 taps, this time a little louder. From the same wall she shared with the empty unit next door. Nicha grabbed her phone, opened the camera, started recording. She whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. Instead, the lights flickered, and for a moment, just one blink of time, the reflection in her black screen showed a figure behind her. A woman. Long hair, drenched, and draped in a faded red dress. Nicha screamed and spun around. Nothing. The room was empty, but the screen kept recording. And in the corner of the frame, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. Pinned to her wall, with no tape or nail, was a photo. The same one from the shrine. Only this time, the woman in it was smiling wider. Too wide. Almost like she knew something Nicha didn't. The next morning, Nicha didn't go to work. She took a cab straight to Pim's aunt, an older woman known in her neighborhood for her temple work and spiritual knowledge. Nicha didn't even get the full story out before the woman raised a hand and said, "You went to the Nong Kham shrine, didn't you?" Nicha nodded. The woman sighed and pulled out a bundle of old incense and a red thread wrapped around a tiny metal charm. "She only shows herself to people who forget their place," the woman said. "That shrine is not abandoned. It's active. Not in the way tourists understand, but in the way we do. The offerings are protection, the garlands, the incense, they keep the spirit quiet." Nicha asked why the shrine felt so aware, why the air changed, why the photo moved. The aunt didn't blink, because she was never buried. They built that shrine where she died, not where she was laid to rest. That's why she lingers. She doesn't haunt the place, she owns it. And the curse? It's not about punishment, it's about respect. You pass without seeing her, she makes sure you never miss her again. Nicha stared down at the charm in her hand, heart pounding. So what now? The woman looked at her, serious. Now you go back, and you tell her you saw her. Nicha returned that same evening. She didn't tell anyone. Not her boss, not Pim. Just grabbed the charm, a bundle of incense, and took the last bus out before sunset. The sky was grey by the time she reached Nong Kham. The trees looked taller, closer. The road felt tighter, like the land itself was bracing for her return. She stepped off the bus and walked, slowly, carefully. Every sound seemed louder this time. When she reached the shrine, the air felt heavier than ever. The garland she'd brought days earlier was now completely black. The photo frame was gone. She knelt, lit the incense with shaking hands and whispered, "I saw you." Nothing happened. No gust of wind, no flickering lights. But as she stood to leave, she noticed something just beside the altar. A small scrap of paper, folded once, weighed down with a stone. She picked it up. On the inside, written in that same red ink, "Now I see you too." She didn't take the bus home. She walked. And the whole way back, not once did she look in any mirror. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video and want to listen to more true horror stories from Asia, feel free to subscribe and put on your notifications. I upload at least 3 times a week. Wish you all the best.